Welcome to beginner. Gee, I'm going to mess that up right from the start, Corey. Beginner Investor Bootcamp. Welcome. I'm joined by Corey Halliday. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Excited to be here.
Starting right off, unable to speak. So there you go. This has been a boot camp that's been around a while, and every once in a while, it's important to update this. And boy, I looking at it, and people have really liked it. No one's ever complained, and everyone said, "Oh, great stuff." Corey and I went back and looked at it. Says, "Man, this stuff is old." so, so it's time to upgrade this and update this and keep everything current. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. And I'll just start out, Corey, with the purpose of this is many people are brand new and they've never done it before. And it's been said that in any venture, if you want to do well in it, there's three things we need. We need the proper tools, we need to have great training, and then we need a plan for action, right? A plan of action to where we do it. So we have the stuff to do it, we know how to do it, and then we go out and do it. And this is really to help you get set up with the right tools. This is the beginning, four pillars and the coaching and all that. But to just get basically set up to trade, right? What do I need? If I was going to be a carpenter, what should I put in my toolbox? So we'll do a little bit of training with the tools, but mostly this is just to say, look, let's get my setup. And the toolbox really happens on your computer, right, Corey? Everything you need is really going to be set up right in front of you. Yes?
Exactly right. And we're going to go through, paper trading accounts and all of that. That's really, you've got to have that ready and open in order to make the most of your training. Because if you're just going through the training and you're not practicing it, if you're not, applying it and actually practicing doing the things that you learn about in the trainings, it's not going to sink in as well, and you're not going to gain that experience. So what we want to make sure of is that as you go through the training, you have your practice account, you have these things set, and you know what your toolbox is that you need.
So this should be pretty easy. Let's say we'll start here with Andy. That's me. And that's exactly what I look like. No, actually, I'm a little heavier than that. And over here will be Corey, and he's a
I've
handsome
got to be
guy.
shorter than
I
you.
didn't do that on purpose. It's just further to the right, okay?
Well,
Gee whiz.
that's very accurate.
I should do that. Yeah, I have a big head. That's the problem. I got a big old melon. So what happens is I might have a checking account, checking. And what happens is I also might go to a store. And what'll happen is if I decide to buy something, right, and I use my checking card, these guys will talk to each other and they'll say, look, Andy wanted to buy something. So in fact, a better way to even look at this is perhaps even eBay would be a better way to look at this. And if I buy something on eBay, it'll take money from my account and it will send it to the person who sold something to me. But and so this is what it looks like to buy something on eBay. And so I traded money for a new basketball. There's nothing you could spend money on that's better than a new basketball, that's for sure.
Not a John Stockton signed picture.
I just, well, I got a John Stockton signed basketball here in my office I'm staring
Oh,
at.
there you go. You got it covered. That's
My
awesome.
business partner gave that to me for my birthday once, and I cried. I just love him. So if
Yeah.
I spend the money, I make what's called a trade, and this is called trading. Is I trade my cash for a basketball, and we call that a buy trade because money's going away from me. And I can link my checking account to that eBay store, right? But let's say, for example, I have something that I want to sell. My sons decide that they don't want to play baseball anymore, and so I take their baseball bat right here, and I say I want to sell this, right? And this time I should do this the other way. This time the money, I should do this right, is going to come towards me, right? And eBay, whoever that, what eBay does for me is they conduct those sales, if that makes sense. And so, if, in order to buy and sell products on eBay, you'd have to have two things. You'd have to have a checking account connected to the market where things are bought and sold. In this case, eBay would be the market. Well, if you want to trade stock, you'd get what's called a brokerage account. Broker edge, I guess, account. I don't even know if I spelled that right. And what'll happen is just like a bank, this happens at a bank. I would make what's called a deposit if money came in, and if I wanted money out of it, I would make a withdrawal. Same thing, right? So here we have a brokerage account, and we also over here have what we call a market or an exchange. eBay is just a place of exchange. It's just an auction. Well, we have this thing called the New York Stock Exchange, right, where we can make trades. And so what you can do is Corey right here, he could make a deposit in a brokerage account. Deposit. And that's very simple to do. We'll talk a little bit about it. And then if he wanted money out of here, he can make a withdrawal. So Corey's going to make a deposit, and let's say he wants to buy some stock. So they would know, the brokerage knows to send the money, right, to the person on the other side of the trade. And so money would go out this way. And maybe we buy it at $10, and so $10 goes out. And then the stock goes up to $20 and we decide to sell. So this would be a buy and this would be a sell. And $20 comes back, and then we make a withdrawal of $10 for our profit. Withdrawal. And that's how I get my money. So one of the first questions people have is, well, how do I actually get paid? How does stock make money? Well, it's the same way as if you're buying and selling stuff on eBay with a checking account. Anything you want to say about that process, Corey?
Yeah, I think that's very well explained. And it's really as simple a process as opening a bank account. All of this can be done online. So it used to be you'd have to go into the brokerage house and you'd have to sign all sorts of paperwork and so on. You're still going to have to sign things, but it's going to be done electronic. So you're just filling out the information, verifications. You can even link your bank account to your brokerage account so that you can make automatic deposits. And I think that that's a good thing, because a lot of times automating the system is a lot more effective than saying, well, I'm just going to make up my mind to add some money to my brokerage account every month. And so you could just have it automated where, $100 goes into your brokerage account every month, or whatever that is. And it's all done electronically online with any broker of your choice.
So let's look at a successful business owner like Mark Cuban or Richard Branson, or someone's successful business. Was the choice of bank the determining factor for their success? In other words, I have a bank account, let's say at Bank of America. And let's say Bank of America makes me angry, or the teller isn't nice to me, or they go out of business. Can I take my business somewhere else? In other words, all a bank is a place to hold money. And maybe there's little nuances they like. Oh, their drive-throughs open late at night. Or maybe they have an ATM. They have little tiny perks that I might like better than another bank. But I'll tell you, they're not going to be a determining factor of whether I'm successful or not at all. It's going to be my education. They're simply a place to hold money. Well, people often will make the mistake, so really breathe right here. They'll make mistakes saying, well, I got to get the right brokerage, which is the best brokerage, which is the best brokerage. That's like saying, what's the best bank, which is like saying, what's the best hamburger stand. You can have, what's the best brand of car. You can have everyone fight and argue about over what the best car is, what the best hamburger is, what the best bank is, and what the best brokerage is. So just take a breath right here and realize that your choice of brokerage will probably not determine whether you're successful or a failure. And if you try a brokerage and you don't like it, guess what you get to do? You get to go and say, I'm going to close my account and I'm going to go somewhere else. No different than changing credit cards, changing banks, or anything else. Any comments on how big of a deal is it? You trade at Interactive Brokers. We have a joint account there, Corey and I, where we trade together. And Corey, if something happened to that brokers that made us angry, or there was a better deal somewhere else, could you and I still have the same level of success, mediocrity, of failure, regardless of the brokerage? How do you feel about that?
100%. And the broker is probably even less important today than it used to be, because there used to be really quite different, changes that were like we all celebrated back in the day 20 years ago when Scott trade was $7 per trade.
Yeah.
Well, notice right there,
Zero,
zero commission
zero,
online trade.
zero,
Schwab, zero.
zero,
Yeah, and
zero.
Interactive Brokers, to your point, even they have their pro platform, or they have their zero or no cost, what they call IBKR Lite, which is
Yep.
zero commission. So all of these brokerages have gone
They want your money.
towards really helping the trader to cut down on expenses, because now it's zero commission for these stock trades. I mean, that's huge. That was a big part of our expenses when we
Yeah.
would trade, and now that's gone away. And their tools and different things. I mean, some people swear by it. They're like, well, I love Ford and I hate Chevy, and they just swear that there's differences. I can't tell the difference. And
If you're on Mars, if you're on Mars looking down at a Ford driver and a Chevy driver, you're like, okay, this guy has a thing with four wheels and this guy has a thing with four wheels, and both of them have little blinkers, and when they stop, the lights go on. To a guy on Mars, they're the same, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, that's kind of how brokerages are, where some people swear by Ameritrade, and they're like, well, my Thinkorswim platform at Ameritrade, I'll never leave it. I love it. And that's great. I mean, you'll find that you're more comfortable with one over the other, and also you can have multiple brokerages. You mentioned that we have that account
Yep.
at
IB.
Interactive Brokers, but I actually have an Ameritrade, a Thinkorswim account, and Fidelity account, and so on. So I actually have multiple accounts, and you can all do that too. You could have paper trading accounts at a couple of different platforms if
As
you
do
wanted
I.
to, so you can
As
try
do
them
I.
out. Yep.
Yep. I have more than one bank as well as more than one
Exactly.
brokerage. I have money in several different banks, as a matter of fact. So
Exactly.
yeah. But notice the zero. One of the reasons it's important to update this is now I'm not looking at, now I'm going to say, well, what do you charge for an option contract? And it's like 50 cents now. I mean, it's not like $7.99. I mean, it's a game changer for people that don't have large accounts, because now commissions don't take near the bite that they used to take.
Exactly.
It's great stuff. So here,
It's really
NerdWallet.
it really leveled the playing field, and that's an important point, because it used to be that commissions didn't matter too much if you had a lot of money, because if I'm putting on a multi-$1,000 trade and my commission is $10 or something, it's not a huge percentage. But for people that were putting on a $100 and they're paying a $10 commission, that's 10%.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
it's hard to
huge.
overcome.
It is.
And so it's really leveled the playing field, and so much better for everyone
So
involved.
I just Googled online brokerage, as you can see, and I spelled it wrong probably. I got Borkridges. So, you can really,
It still found them.
you can really screw this up if you're a beginner and can't type, right? And, here's the 10 best, the 7, and these are just links where people get paid if you choose theirs, Motley Fool and all. So look, just start looking around. Now we're going to use two, and this is not a recommendation. We're just showing, Merrill Lynch, I've done business with them. Ameritrade, I've done business with them. E-Trade, I've done business with them. Interactive Pro, I've done business with all these guys, and amazing, they all have 5 stars, and it's just, it's pretty stuff. Up to $600 and up to 2,500. Man, that's a big deal. Over 100. You look and decide what you want, but the best way is to learn. There's a there's a there's a mentality with some folks that they need to know how to do it perfect before they try anything. And I believe, my opinion is this is something that'd be okay to set up a brokerage, and if you don't like them, you could move. It's going to be your trading skill that will probably be the big difference. And and like I say, it'd be like saying, Andy, what do you think the best car is, Ford or Chevy? Well, I own both. I have a Ford F-250, and I have a Tahoe, and I have a Camaro, and I have you can go on down the line, and what Corey drives, well, that doesn't mean that's what you want, right? It's really about what you want, not what I or Corey have in terms of brokerage. So the two we'll be using will be, I'll bring this one up. This is called Thinkorswim. And it's kind of like, I use a Mac and Corey uses a PC. I mean, it's just, we both get our work done. Mac, PC, your word processing, sending emails, browsing the web. Both of us are successful and able to do those things. So don't make this such a big deal. And Another thing I'll say is the only difference between a Ford and a Chevy is the little things. Look, the brake. One person might have a car that has a brake handle you pull up in the middle between the passenger side and the driver's side. It's a little hand brake. Others, the park brake might not be by hand, it might be by foot. So you get in there, and the important thing is says, well, I know there's a parking brake somewhere. Let's find where it is. Some people put the windshield wipers on a little stick off the steering column where you twist it. Others put it on the dash where it's a knob that you twist. Others, it's a lever that you move. And so I get in the car and I say, well, I know there's probably some windshield wiper here somewhere. Where is it so I can learn to use it? Some people have a radio in the console where you change the volume on the console. Sometimes that's on the steering wheel now. And so what we're getting at is all of these brokerages are going to have basic elements that are there. They're just, you'll learn to find, okay, this is the button for charts, right? This is the button for risk graphs and so forth. So anything you want to say on the differences that really aren't that different in the tools?
Yeah, I mean, and I like to use the parking brake because when we get into trading, we'll talk about stop losses.
Yes.
Every one of these brokerages is going to have a stop loss, a way to protect you. With any of these brokers, you can get approved to trade options and do some different things that way. Now, there will be minor differences as you kind of go through that process. One might approve you for an options level that's a little different than another gives you approval for. And those things are also able to be changed over time. As you gain more experience, you can go back to them and say, hey, I'd like for you to elevate my level on option trading. I'm at level 3 and I want to go to level 4 or whatever that may be. And they'll make those changes with you and they'll work with you on those things. So yeah, don't get too caught up in kind of the little nuances. You just know that, okay, the tools and things are pretty much the same between these brokers. Let's find the one that I feel most comfortable with.
So to do an online brokerage, we'll just choose the first one, whatever comes up. Again, 0 online equity trades. You'll say open an account. And sure enough, it'll begin to ask you what type of account you want. I don't know what it's going to be. Do you want a brokerage account? Do you want Roth? Now, if you choose a retirement account, they'll have probably some limitations on going short and being naked and stuff like that. So most people just choose a brokerage account, right? So I choose it and then I continue. Then it's going to say, am I doing this individual or with my wife? You know, I'm very close to Corey. Corey and I actually have a joint account, so I hope that doesn't make our wives jealous. But we have a joint account, you and I together, right, Corey? And
That's right.
we do. So I guess that just makes us just great buddies. So you say individual, continue, and you just follow through the stuff that they're going to ask you, right? Do I want an individual account? Do I want a joint account? You know, whatever it is. Then you start putting in personal stuff, right? Social security number, have this stuff ready, your employee if you're employed, and then you just go to town. Now, one of the things that's going to ask you, and I'm not going to go through all my, social security number stuff, but it is going to ask you a couple things. What is the purpose of this account? And you might see something that says growth, right? I have a goal for growth. You might say I have a goal for income. I might say I want to speculate, right? Speculation. What are some of the others, Corey? There might be one or two more. Growth, income, speculation kind of cover a lot of it.
Yeah, it
Anything
covers
else?
the range, I think.
Yeah.
And
So there'll be boxes or a drop-down menu. Say, well, man, maybe I want all three. I love to grow. I love income. I love speculation. If you choose speculation, they might ask you about your experience, and they'll say, hey, either how many years have you been trading, or how many years, and you put that in, or they'll say, how many trades a year do you make in the options market or stock market or whatever. And it's funny because people are funny how they are, Corey. I had one guy say, well, Andy, what should I put in there? I'm like, well, how about the truth?
yeah,
It's funny how people are like, well, I want to get the highest level of trading. And I says, well, why don't you just put in the truth? And if you're new, say, new, 0. Go ahead and put it in.
yeah.
and they might not give you level 5 or level 4 trading access to naked options and stuff. And you know what my feeling is if you haven't ever done this before and you've done it 0 times, maybe you ought to make a few basic trades before those advanced. Maybe
Before
there's
you
a
get into that.
reason for
Yeah.
that, right? And so even
Yeah.
though your education, we're going to educate you as if you had level 5 access or level 4, depending on the brokerage, meaning you can go short, you can trade options and forex and all this crazy stuff. Just start where you are. Now, my first one, Corey, was with Daytech. Back they're not even around anymore. They got swallowed up by TD Ameritrade. But my first online brokerage was Daytech. That's back when you had your phone make noises when you get online to trade.
Yeah.
You know, so here I've got this brokerage, and I put in the truth, and they said we'll give you level 1, and I want level 4. And so I wrote him a letter and said, Dear Daytech, I am an investor. Here's my net worth. And it was large. I was lucky to start with a little bit of money when I started. And I said, I'm going to open up this trading account with $50,000. That was my first deposit, was $50,000. And I showed them what that $50,000 was relative to my net worth. And they saw that it was not a large part of my net worth. I said, the reason I'm opening this an account is to get access to your paper trading tools and to learn. I'm enrolled in a course that is teaching you how to trade, and so I'm under the tutelage of an instructor. And I appreciate you wanting to care about it. If you're not comfortable with me learning on your platform, knowing what I'm doing, could you please recommend a brokerage that would?
That's awesome.
And guess what? They gave me level 5 access the next day
Yeah.
because they understood I wasn't gambling with my with my kids' inheritance, and I was very sound, and it sounded like, so they just make that call, and if they don't give that to you, well, then you can do this. You can trade with them for a while, and a month later say, okay, I've been trading a little bit. I've got a few trades under my belt. I'd like to go to level 2, and you can just grow with that brokerage, or you can change brokerages and play that game. But what they're really trying to do is get something on paper that indemnifies them to an agree that they didn't give you a loaded gun when you hadn't taken hunter safety or never
Exactly
shot
right.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. I mean, I worked in the financial markets. I had a Series 7 and a Series 4, which is an options principal, and we'd have to go through approval processes and so forth. And so to understand it from the brokerage side, think about it from their angle. What are they trying to make sure of? They're trying to make sure that they don't give you the ability to go out and speculate and trade markets that you have no idea about, because that puts them in a bad spot where they say, we gave these guys approval. They had zero experience. They'd never done trades, yet we approved them to do the most aggressive style of trading. It opens them up to being sued and this sort of thing. Now, if they make you say, hey, I understand the risks, I have this amount of experience and so forth, then they can say, okay, we had this discussion. These people knew, they had studied, they had done these things, and so it kind of protects them. And so you have to think about it from their side, where they don't want to get someone in there that doesn't know what they're doing and cause them harm. And so I think that's important. And to Andy's point, you want to get approval for the things that you're really knowledgeable about, and so it's a little bit of a stepping process, but many of you will be able to, I think, within a year's time, 2 years' time, be approved for the highest of levels, because again, you'll be proving to them over time that you know how to trade, and they'll be able to see that internally in your trading account and so forth. So it's a pretty simple process, but you have to understand kind of both sides of it.
So I'm going to go through this, and I just put in a login. I'm just doing this to show you what it looks like. I put in my social security number to continue. I'll save this password that I have, and that's not the right, that isn't even a text number, but that's kind of a bogus number actually. But all right, we'll give them that. That's fine. And here we go. Access code to my email. I don't even know what that is. Oh, they're sending me a code now to tell me, here it is. Here's the code. They're giving me a code to put in on my email. Good thing I didn't give them the text number. It wouldn't have worked. And I continue. Now let's see what it has to say. And we'll just apply for one right here and walk you through it. I don't have one with Schaub, so now I'm going to put in my street address. Let me pull that off so I can have a little bit of privacy in where I live. I lived at this address for more than 6 months and
Not very long,
all this
right?
type of stuff. That sounds good. And it looks like they're happy with me. So now they're going to ask how they're going to get paid, and I'll just say, well, I'll do an online bank transfer, and they'll ask for some bank. Now, this is where we're going to connect the bank, right? Wells Fargo or whatever, my bank in there. So they're going to ask for this type of stuff. Now, I'm almost halfway through this, and I'm not going to give them my information because I don't want a Schwab account. But you get a feel. It's fill in the blank stuff, right? So just fill it in and go through it. The stuff we wrote out by hand is going to be the what's your purpose for trading? Is it speculation? Is whatever. So basically, you'll get set up, and then you'll choose how you want to interact with them. Now I'll show you something. If there's two ways I can do this. I go to Ameritrade.com and do what's called web-based. And web-based is they have tools where I could trade web-based, where I could actually get in a browser and type in www.ameritrade.com, and they would show my allocation of assets, and they'd give me my balances, and I could get access to charts, and I could make trades buy, and I could make trades sell. And this would be web-based, meaning that I have to use a browser such as Chrome, such as Safari, such as Internet Explorer, such as Firefox, to access this stuff. That's called web-based. You also have something called client-based, and most professional traders, I don't know if I should even say that, Corey, because I don't know it for sure, but my assumption is that what a client-based system is, my assumption is most pros use that. That's an application that I don't see in a browser, that I don't open up Safari or Firefox or Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. That's client-based, and that's what I have here. Is I have an icon in my dock, right? That is here. I'll bring this up and show a picture of it. I have an icon in my dock. Open the clipboard. Right here that has this little Ameritrade symbol in it. See that? It's not my browser. See, my browser's over here with Safari. Over here in my dock is I click on this little green thingy, and that is for that launches this program, and that's the one I prefer. So in our mentor club, in our trainings, you'll see Corey and I using a client-based system because it's usually more robust and it's not clouded with all the other things that browsers have. But again, preference is yours. Anything you want to say about client-based versus web-based tools?
Yeah, I would agree with you that I think most kind of go towards that client-based program, and it's basically on your Windows machine or whatever. You can just have that icon right on your desktop.
Yep.
And so you just come in and double click it, you put in your username and password, it would launch the program, and away you go. So pretty simple process that way.
So right here we have what's called a monitor page, and this just happens to be associated with this one. And what it's going to show me is a couple of things. I'm going to unhide this. It's nothing to hide. I don't know. You can hide it for privacy. Is that we started this account out with, I think we started $100,000 when we first started, is my guess. It wasn't more than 200, I know. So in this simulated trading account, you'll notice in simulation mode, we've gone from 100,000 to almost 500,000 just trading once a week and letting people watch us. This is the one we use for the Mentor Club. And so that's kind of fun that we've made a little money. And right now this is ridiculous. I mean, our profits are a little higher than normal because we try to keep this around $5,000. We say, hey, how do you make $1,000 a week? And this is a little, we got to sell some stuff because this is ridiculous. But it's just because the market has done so well, right? And you'll have losses where you're down in a position. And this is extremely, we shouldn't even record this because to have only one position underwater is stupid. But understand, we're probably cleaned out a lot. When you lose money, you usually get out and move on. So This is a really bad example of what's typical, but it's a really accurate example of, here's your positions. And so we have how much buying power we have. The most important number on here is net liquidation. Do you want to talk about what net liquidation is, Corey? This is a very
Yeah,
important number. Net
net
liquidation.
liquidation. It's your true account value because it's the liquidation value means based on the current quote of all your assets. If they were sold at this moment, what is your true account value? What's the net liquidation value? So if we liquidate everything, here's what the account is worth. And
Yep.
it's, a good way to think about that is if you went in for a loan and you were
Yeah.
taking out a loan for a piece of real estate or something, they're going to ask you about,
Right.
well, what other assets do you have? And you take your brokerage statement in there, and they would look at your brokerage statement and they would find that number because that tells them, well, right now at least, and it will change day to day, but right now, if they liquidated everything, it's worth X amount. And that gives them some numbers to kind of qualify you for this loan. And so you get credit for that, and if your assets go up in value, of course, your account value is going up. If your assets go down in value, your account value is going down. We're in a spot right now where the market's been on a tear. And so just kind of riding the trend, of course, there's a lot of P&L of nice profitable positions. If the market, if you close some of these positions and so on, that's going to factor into the net liquidation value. But all of these positions right here, Apple and Applied Materials, and you look at them on the left-hand side with their stock symbols, they're all being accounted for. When you
Yep.
take a trade, it's getting a quote day by day. What is this trade worth? Moment by moment when the stock market's open, what is this trade worth? And you'll see your net liquidation value changing because all of those assets are ticking around. They're changing in value. So it's true account value.
So, we opened this account, I think, with $100,000 when we first started, and the total value of this is about $650,000. Right now, we're up about $37,000 on the positions, but we're down $1,000 on the day. This is called buying power effect. It affects, for example, since we've spent some money on stock, we don't have $650,000 left of buying power. We have 494. So we could go out and buy a lot more if we wanted, but this is already too big of a list to learn from. We got to clean this out a little. So basically, this is where you go, and you'll learn different things. Like here's a chart, and there's all types of ways to trade. I mean, I could right click on this and maybe look for a buy or a sell on something. I could go to trade and hit buy or sell on something. I could go to the trade tab and begin to do buy or sell on different trade tabs. So there's lots of different ways that you'll learn, and the best way to do it is watch the Mentor Club because we do this stuff all the time. So anything you want to say about selecting a brokerage? What is a paper trade account, Corey?
Yeah, it's all simulated, so that means that there's no real money involved. All of this is purely just for practice sake, right? That's good news if you lose a little bit. That's bad news if you make a little bit because you can't use your paper money for anything. And so it's just all a practice account. Now there's a little toggle where you could actually go from your simulated trading to your real account.
Yep.
But notice how they make it very apparent when you're on a simulated account. When you pull different things up, it'll just be telling you, hey, this is simulated. This is a practice account. It's paper money only.
Yeah, simulated here, paper money. And if I were to make a trade, for example, look at a closing order and I were to go to confirm it, this is a simulation, not a real trade. So it's everywhere. Paper money. Look at this. Simulation, not real. Simulation, not real. Simulation. It's everywhere. Let me get rid of that. Paper money, it's pretty easy to tell when you're in simulated mode. Look, these are simulated values. You really don't have $649,000, right? It's all simulated. Now, when Corey and I trade together, we take it off simulation mode and all of those numbers become real, right? And so that's important to know when you're in your real account and when you're in your practice account. Corey, do you happen to have a practice account up of Interactive Brokers?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, let me give them a tour here, and you'll see some of similar things. So first, there's going to be a basic page, and here it's called the monitor page, where it lists all the positions we have. We're going to have a place to look at charts of different stocks. We're going to have places to buy and sell. Okay, the quantity, whether it's a limit order, market order, we're going to get into all this in this toolbox. But it's going to show us all that stuff. So notice here, let's just look at three things. I have a list of the stocks and how much I'm up or down on them. I have a place to go to look for charts, and I could even get my charts somewhere else. I could go on the web and get a chart if I wanted. And then I also have a place to buy and sell. And those are the things, the basic things I need are stock quotes, right? How much is the stock trading at? What's the bid and the ask price? Do I have a button that lets me buy it? Do I have a button that lets me sell it? Do I have a button that tells me how many shares I can buy? That's basically all you need. Now there's going to be a lot of scan stuff and ways to find stocks and education, other tools and all kinds of stuff. But basically, you want a list of stocks, you want a place to look at charts, and you want a place where you can make buying and selling decisions on stocks and options. Anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think those are the key points. And, as you get more knowledge, of course, you're going to kind of expand out into some
Oh, I just killed your
more
sound.
of the tools
Yep.
and so on. But
Okay,
it'll just be a stepping stone.
Let me make Corey the presenter on his computer for a minute. And I'll bring this over here on top of mine. Here's Corey's computer, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this.
All right.
What a treat. Interactive brokers.
Interactive brokers, we get a question from our international traders a lot.
Yes.
Who can I use? Because the international traders, if you're in Canada, if you're in Europe, if you're in Russia or wherever, a lot of times the Thinkorswim platform that we were just looking at is not available. But Interactive Brokers,
global.
It's just interactivebrokers.com. It's global. And so
in fact, hit open an account here and show them the countries. Yeah.
To that point, let's go through and say we were going to open an individual account, and I'll just show you a drop-down list of the countries available. Now, we might have the same thing where we just have to kind of create something.
You got to drop down right there, residential country at the bottom, can't you? Can't you pop that list open?
So yeah, we don't even need to go that far.
Yeah, I think we're good.
It didn't like
your name
little
anyway.
thing there, but
so if you live in Turkmenistan or Trinidad or Qatar or Peru or Niger or Niue or Mozambique or Mongolia or Malta or half these I can't even pronounce. I've never heard of.
The Isle of Man.
The Isle of Man. Let's move there, dude. I think we ought to retire in the Isle of Man. That sounds pretty good. I love it. The Isle of Man.
Anything that ends in islands is usually a pretty good place.
Faroe Islands sounds like a good place to put our money, dude. The Caymans.
But it's amazing. I mean, we get the international traders that say, is our country available? Well, you just have to come here and look. But the answer is probably yes, because with Interactive Brokers, they're truly a global brokerage platform.
Yeah.
And so almost any country imaginable is there. And then to your point that they have a web-based platform as well as a client-based. Well, if I wanted to trade, so I can log in here, and you'll notice that there are some different choices. So I can do the web trader, which is the web platform you can see here, or I can actually download what they call the trader workstation, the TWS. And the TWS, again, is going to be an icon that's on my desktop.
It's right there on the right.
Yep,
I can see it down there.
Double click it. Yep.
There it is.
And once I double click it, lo and behold, it's going to pull up. Actually, let me show you one thing, is it'll pull up the login first. So if I click on it, and let me just show you here really quick. Here's what it looks like. Now I've already logged in, but here is what it would look like if I hadn't. Let me pull that up. And so it's just going to say, okay, here it is.
Installing.
It's saying it already has it open, but let me exit out of that and I can pull it up another way. I'll just go and click on the icon from my desktop itself and it should pull it up just fine. So like this, okay? And here is what it looks like. So when I have the trader workstation, I just double click on it and then right here I can log in either
or
live or paper. And so if I punch in my paper login, Now it brings up my paper account. If I want to go into my live account, type it in here, it would pull up my live account. We did the paper login, so here is a paper trading account. And notice, this is not a brokerage account. This is a paper trading account for simulated trading. Again, all of the same things will kind of apply. I like to compare this program. It takes a little getting used to the Trader Workstation,
This is more
but
like
I really
Excel.
like it.
This is more like a spreadsheet.
Yep, I love that analogy. It's like Excel, where everything's done in lines. And so if I come in here, the first thing is you might want to customize and create some different folders. So let's say that we were, taking something and we wanted to look at volatility or something. I could just create a little folder that says volatility, or I wanted to create a little folder that says cash flow. This is to keep you organized. And then I could just punch in stock symbols, and I could say, well, maybe I want to look at JP Morgan stock. And so as I type in the symbol, it pulls it up here, and there, the very top thing is, well, do you want a stock? Sure, let's start with the stock. So see how it's kind of an Excel program. It goes all the way through, and see the columns here where it says JP Morgan today is trading at 138 per share, and it was up $1.63 or 1% on the day, and that's all the details. And if I wanted to trade it, notice that if I toggle over, it has a little buy icon or a sell icon. And so if I wanted to, I could click right there to pull up a buy order.
That's called a ticket. That's called an order ticket. And this is essential. We're going to do an order ticket here, and we're going to do an order ticket in Thinkorswim, but you're going to notice that the stuff is the same. So let's go through the order ticket right here on how do you fill out an order ticket?
The order ticket is you specifying to the market. It's like grocery shopping. How much of this do you want? Well, when I go grocery shopping, I need to know, okay, my wife tells me I need 5 limes. I need whatever, right? And so I'm going to put in the quantity that I want. Well, do I want 1 share of JP Morgan? Okay, how much quantity? Or do I want 100 shares of it? And so I can put in any quantity I want, 20 shares, 30 shares. And again, with these brokers going commission free for most of their stock trading, it doesn't penalize you for buying a small amount or a large amount or anything in between. And so if I say, well, maybe I want to buy 100 shares, that's kind of a standard, what they call a lot. I'm going to buy 1 lot. I'm going to buy 100 shares. Then it's going to say, well, what do you want to do here? Do you want to buy it at market, which means you're just going to, that's like grocery shopping where you say, well, I'm just going to pay whatever they're charging.
Whatever the price is right now.
Whatever the price is, that's what I'm going to pay. That's a market order. I'm just going to get in at the current
what they're asking
price. Or I can be very specific and I say, I want to limit what I'm willing to buy for. So I say, well, JP Morgan's trading up here at 138, but maybe I think it's going to come down to 137.
Yep.
I can literally specify the price that I'm willing to buy at, and my order will only execute. I'll only be the owner of these shares if it hits my price or better. And so I can put a limitation on my buying and selling. And remember that you're in control as a trader. You get to decide where you want to buy, when you want to buy, how much you want to buy. You're in control of all of that. You'll learn more about all these different types of orders as you go through the training. Yep. And then last but not least, the time in force. Do you want this order to stay live for today's trading day only? Or do you want it out there good till canceled? That's what GTC stands for. If I put out a good till canceled order, that means that even if this order doesn't execute and go through today, it'll be live in the market tomorrow. I'll be a sitting order out there day after day after day trying to get my 100 shares at my price. So those are the 2 common orders. You can have just a day order only that would expire.
For the day.
Or a good till canceled order. And, same thing. If I wanted to sell shares, say I own JP Morgan, I can sell them. I can specify price. Of course, we try to buy, at a low a point as possible, and we try to sell at as high a point as possible. So, maybe I own the shares and I want to come in and sell my shares, I could put out a good till canceled sell order to sell them if they get up to my price and that sort of thing. Once I have whatever order I want, let's just say we had this buy order just right, I could just sit here and transmit the order, and it would pull up an order ticket that would say, okay, this is what we call a confirmation page. Order confirmation. Here's what you're trying to do. You're trying to buy 100 shares at a limit price of 137. This is a good till canceled order. That would cost $13,700 because that's 100 shares times 137. Do you want to do that? If so, I can just transmit the order. And this is just telling me, you know, depending on market conditions, this could reject your, it's just kind of a little bit of a warning that basically, if this order doesn't execute and it stays out there day after day after day, they could end up canceling the order after a certain amount of time or whatever. You could say, don't display this little message anymore or whatever. If I go ahead and transmit that, you can see, again, this is paper only. And IB is a really professional platform. So they even have price management algos to protect your order. By using this, they have algorithms that try to protect you in case it's a fast moving market or anything like that. You can decide not to use them. You can always use them, or you could use them on this order only, and you can customize all these sorts of things. So this is where a little bit of a word of caution, where sometimes Interactive Brokers is a little bit more advanced. And so there will be a lot of these things that that are really cool, but maybe they're a little confusing to you at the start. So, you know, that's one critique of Interactive Brokers is they kind of assume that you're at a little bit higher level. So let's say do not use and go ahead. And again, paper trading platform, and that's kind of the breakdown of that.
Show them, do you have anything in the portfolio of the paper trade account? So you can see. So this is what we do each week for our new Investor Weekly, and we have gold, McDonald's in here, and some cash, and it just shows the positions. This is much like the monitor page we had in Ameritrade. It's just a smaller list of stocks, right?
That's right. And it's just monitoring whenever you have positions, they'll be in your portfolio column. Whenever you have a pending order, it's going to be in your pending section. So if we click back to our pending here, it's going to show that order to buy 100 shares of JPM. And I'm just going to cancel that order because that was just messing around anyway. You know, but there's our portfolio of what we currently hold. A couple other things that are kind of something to know about when you get started. When you start to build option trades, it's really following the same path every time. So if I were going to build an option trade in JP Morgan, instead of choosing the stock, I could just simply choose the options. And I could select, let's do a simple trade. Say I was going to buy a call option. Well, I would come over here and find my expiration and kind of choose whatever that is. And it would put that on your screen. So whether you trade the stock or whether you trade the options, it's very similar, where you just go select what you want, and then you can place your order around that. And there's even some other tools where if I wanted to pull up the options, I could pull up a big chain like this and put in different symbols. Maybe I want Home Depot. Okay, and so I put in Home Depot and it will pull up the different options. This is called an option chain. And again, you can select whatever you want and go through here and say, well, maybe I want a put option on this or whatever. And so if I select that, I can actually place an order for any type of option that way as well. So it's a pretty easy process once you get the hang of it. Another thing that you showed.
Don't let yourself be overwhelmed, though. You know, if you're brand new, you're like, wow, charts, quotes, options change, order tickets, confirmation.
It's a lot, yeah.
You know, relax. That's what the Mentor Club is here for, right? That's what. Boy, I had my mic down. That's what the Mentor Club is here for, and that's why we do this each week. And that's what the training is for. The purpose here is simply get your tools set up. You don't need to know how to use the tools yet because you haven't had training, but we do have an interest in having tools ready.
Exactly right. And then charting is the same way. You can kind of build, have a chart. Let's say we wanted to chart on target or whatever. I can just come in here and say, okay,
There's your
let's look
chart.
at a chart. And within a chart, you can choose different time frames. Maybe I want to look at it on a daily basis. So that means each one of these is 1 day in time. And so you can actually trade directly from a chart. You can zoom
Yep.
in or zoom out a chart and kind of play around with this. You can customize it where I could say edit, and I could put in different parameters and really customize these charts
Add
to say, well,
tools, MACDs, moving averages.
exactly. Yep. And so as you learn, again, don't get overwhelmed by this. We just want to show you, because you'll come back to this video, as you get more information, and you'll say, okay, I'm really understanding this stuff. Now I want to add some of this stuff in. So we want to put some of these things in here just so you can kind of see them. So if I hit the edit chart, notice I can just add a MACD indicator, which Andy just mentioned, and so you can customize all these things. You could even change the colors of various things and just really customize it to whatever you want and the way that you want to do it. One area that has caused confusion in the past are more advanced orders. And you'll notice it's the same approach. So if I type in a stock symbol, I'm going to come down here to combinations. A combination order, an option combination, means that I'm trading more than one, like a spread trade. You'll get into this. If I buy one option and sell another one at the same time, that's called a combination. If you don't see this little combinations button for building option spreads and things like that, all you have to do is hit this little drop down, and then you'd be able to see it. So if I type in the stock symbol, I come into combinations, I can come over here to option combos, okay, option combo smart, and that's always the route I take for building an option spread. And it's really cool where it gives you a little risk graph here and shows you different strategies. So say that I wanted to trade, an iron condor. What you'll find is it'll actually show you an iron condor right here and help you build it. And so if I wanted to do an iron condor, it will, give me all these details or whatever, and I can just sit here and kind of play around with it, and it kind of shows me the details, and I can build that trade. So again, that's probably going too far ahead for a new trader, but some really cool things that you can kind of come back to this and build these trades and have a better understanding of all the tools. And the important thing is, when you're in the simulated mode, is just to know how to get practice. And really the big thing is you're not going to break the platform, and
That's
it's all
the point.
fake. It's all simulated.
Yep.
So just click around,
away.
click
Yep.
on everything. Yep.
That was what I was going to say, Corey, is don't be afraid of buttons. There's a lot of people that you remember when email came out, people were freaked out and they thought they had to know how to do it before they clicked. When you move into a new town, get in the car and drive around, see what's there, see where the mail is, see where the post office is, see where the spa is, see where the gym is, see where you get the supermarket, where's the gas pump, and just start moving around. Well, this is just like moving into a new town. What does this button do? What does this button do? Well, let's go check this, and you'll be just fine. That's a great tour. Now, what's going to be fun here is I'm going to make me the presenter once again. Let's see if I can do that. See if it can make me the presenter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something pretty cool. I just took a little screen capture of some of the stuff Corey had on his, so don't get confused. But you notice I have the same things. I have the list of stocks that I own, just like he did, right? I have the ability to enter an order. I have the ability to get charts, right? And so let's close this out. Let's enter an order this way. I have an ability to add a trade first, and notice that here's the same option chain type information that Corey had, and the information is going to be the same. I can also say, gee, here's the type of trades. He mentioned iron condors, right? Well, I can do an iron condor right there, see? And now it will bring up iron condors that I can choose from. So you can do, it's just a different way of getting to things that way. Let's say that I've got Apple up here and I just want to buy some Apple, right? Well, sure enough, just like in Corey's platform, it's going to give me an order ticket, just like that, where I can say, gee, in fact, let's edit this order ticket, is I can say, look, is it good for the day or is it good till canceled? Is it that limit order or is it that market order? What price do I want to have? How many shares do I want to have? 20, 30, 40? Do I want to go long or do I want to go short? Do I want to buy it or do I want to sell it? So all the stuff that was on Corey's platform here, you'll notice there was a place to say day or good till canceled. Guess what? Day or good till canceled is right there. There was a place to put in whether it was a limit order or not. And I said, yep, here is a place to choose a limit order, right? There's over here a place to put how many shares in. Sure enough, there's a place to put how many shares in that I want to trade. So, while it's a lot like that handbrake we said in the car, some places it's going to look like this. In this one, it's just on one line, looks like this. He had something, he said, well, let's confirm it. And sure enough, we're going to have a confirmation that explains everything I'm going to do. You'll pick it up. So don't be afraid. If it says simulated account, we're not going to lose money if it says simulated account. This is not a real trade and a real trade. If it doesn't say that stuff, simulated trading everywhere, then you're in a real mode. So make sure you see simulated trading. And if you have any questions, the brokerage itself is a great resource. Call them up. Hey, I'm a new trader. Could you walk me through how your platform works? Just going long, going short, and they'll help you do that. Charts are there. Option chains are there. You'll learn how to open windows and close them, and risk graphs as you go along. Corey, anything else you want to say about these platforms?
No, I think that's it. And again, any of those being available to potentially, TD Ameritrade, Thinkorswim obviously is available to the U.S. and not available to a lot of international markets. Interactive Brokers is available to a lot of our international traders. So a good thing to remember there.
Okay, let's talk about setting up your tools in terms of research. And one of the things I do, I'll just show mine. Let me start with a Google page. I don't think I have anything on here that's too private that I couldn't share. Is I come in here and like anybody else, I have the stuff I'm interested in. I'm a big basketball fan. I travel a lot. I care about personal development, so I have my favorites like anyone else. And right here at the first, I must be greedy. I should put personal developments first, but for some reason, since I use this a lot, I hit finance. And in here I have all my brokerage accounts, my bank accounts. So you can see I have accounts with TD Ameritrade, Options House, Option Express, Morgan Stanley, and Interactive Brokers. And this would be the websites for all those accounts. So if I want to transfer money or have money transferred back to me, I would do that through the web-based platform. Okay, I also have the stuff for my real estate, my banks and credit cards and all that stuff. But you'll notice here, I also have something called news, quotes, calendars, and tools. And so right here, these are websites that are really cool in terms of calendars. And I'm going to recommend one to you right here called the Forex Factory Calendar. These guys are free. You can get a login if you want. I have one, but I won't log in right now. And you can see that I've got mine set up for US settings, and there's a couple cool things here. Down at the bottom, I've got all my bank rates. So if you're working with Corey, eventually he'll be your coach, or one of his guys will coach you. Say, hey, where do you find this? Well, here you can come in here and be ahead of the game. You know where to find this stuff. But the red are things that are really tend to affect the market, and the yellow and orange are less. And I have this set up week by week, so I can go forward and see what's coming up. And I see here, Federal Open Market Committee and Federal Funds Rate. What color are those going to be, Corey?
Definitely red.
Definitely red, man.
FOMC, that's a Federal Reserve open market committee meeting. So that's where they change interest rates and give updates on their economic projections. And when you're talking about the Fed definitely has a tendency to move markets.
So I might look at the federal funds rate. I can click this open, and it'll even tell me a little bit about what this is. If I click this folder, it'll tell me a little bit what it is. I like the Forex Factory. this is cool. I click the graph, it'll give me the history. And here's where our fund rate was for the Great Recession, right? And they tried to bump it up, and then 2019, so they dropped it back down, and it kind of shows you the history of where it was and what's happening with that. So we have unemployment, you know, unemployment claims. We have non-farm, which is another important one. We can click on this and see the unemployment based on what was predicted and what was actual. Really good information on this. Well, I keep that as one of my tools in my quotes on a calendar. The Forex Factory. You know, the earnings whisper is what they believe the earnings might be. That's another calendar type of thing. Okay, if I want quotes, there's certain quotes that I don't get readily in my client-based software. So one of the things I can get is a Schiller PE, and this tells me what the Schiller PE ratio is at any given point. Another one in quotes that I can get is sovereign credit default swaps. That's not something that I generally get there, but these are interesting to me, and you'll learn. So you don't have to have all the ones I have right here and right now, but it just kind of gives you an idea of how I've set mine up in the stuff I care about, where I can just get quotes on different things very quickly if it's cumbersome in Ameritrade. Of course, I could get a gold quote in here too, but let's say I'm surfing the web and I don't want to bother with the username and password and opening up the whole client. If I'm happen to be browsing and looking at news, say, yeah, what's spot gold? I can go here and get it without opening up my client. So that's why the redundancy on some of this stuff. But I'm not going to get a Schiller PE in there. I'm going to have to go here to get that. Anything you want to say about that, Corey?
Yeah, and that's really important that you kind of customize towards the things that you learn about. So you're going to learn more about fundamental analysis and technical analysis, and there will be scanning websites and a variety of different things. And so keep yourself organized where you have access to those websites and you can quickly refer back to them, because a lot of what you do at the brokerage side is placing your trades. And you'll do some research here, but a lot of times there will be other sources that you're going to do a lot of your research from. So when you're doing fundamentals or scanning,
For sure.
you might be using some outside resources to do that.
And I can always go and I can always, like if I want a chart, I can always find futures, right, of what I want that are like futures are done after hours. So I can go, whoops, I had put it in here backwards is why. I can get a quote after hours on this anytime I want. But again, if I don't want to open up my client, I also know that I can go here and say, oh, I can get some pre-market data before the market's open, if I choose to. So I can see where the futures are and the pre-market data and everything I want. Another thing I have set up in mine is I have financial news, and I don't watch CNBC, to tell you the truth. I have it in here. I don't use it other than quote stuff. Market Watch sometimes. Wall Street Journal I do subscribe to. Matt Kerfkoff's a friend of mine from the Dow 30 Letters. He's just a personal friend. I'm always interested to see what Matt has to say. He and I are different in how we believe about sovereign fundamentals. So this gives me a chance to get an alternative view so I don't get my own bubble without a check to my own dogma. And then finally, this is the most important one to set up is the scanning tools. And I'm going to share with you a couple of paid and a couple of free. So my two favorite free are FinViz and Yahoo, and my two favorite paid is Investor Business Daily and Finbox. There's some others here that can scan for volatility that are free, but notice here I have two free and two paid. So FinViz is a lot of fun because it's just got a great stock screener. And the reason it's important to have a great stock screener is to get us ideas. And please don't get freaked out about trying to find the needle in the haystack, because it's not our ability to find great stocks, it's our ability to manage risk once we're in them. And you can search from fundamental criteria from the fundamental pillar, technical criteria from the technical pillar. So if I say, hey, find me a technical pattern of, let's say, a double bottom, and I click that, and I can mouse over these and see the double bottoms, or I can say, well, just show me all the charts quick, and I can scan so quickly to find patterns that are interesting to me. Or I can say, let's do a fundamental and find a PE ratio that's under 15, and it'll give me all the stocks that fit that criteria. And I can do more than one. And so as you go through the 4 pillars of investing, we'll actually be taking you back to these websites and using them and give you training on these tools. But for now, this is just a good opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to set up some news quotes and tools. I like some scan tools. FinViz is a big one. Yahoo is a really cool one. Sometimes it gives me a little grief. Looks like I'm already logged in. And I can go screeners, and I have 2 very basic save screeners here. I have one for bullish fundamentals and one for bearish that I've customized. We're going to show you how to do this to criteria. So if I want ideas, I can hit bullish fundamentals, and it will search for ideas based on my bullish fundamental criteria that quick. If I want bearish ones, I can go back to those save screeners. I'm doing this probably too fast. I hit my bearish, and these will be all stocks that I find in click bearish fundamentals that fit my bearish criteria. So you'll be learning how, and if you want coaching, the coachers sign everyone up and show you how to set all these up. But that's basically the two that I like for free. Yahoo has a premium. I haven't found that to be valuable myself, but others may. And the ones I subscribe to are Investors Business Daily. They give me enough ideas that for me it's worth paying for it. And then I love Finbox, man. I pay for Finbox like $40 a month. And Corey, this is like one of my favorites because I get to compare data against data. So Corey, here is Apple. Give me a metric that we would care about, like maybe EV over EBITDA maybe. Would that be cool?
Yeah. Perfect. Enterprise value to EBITDA.
So I just typed in EV, and here I see enterprise value over EBITDA. That's one of the ones Corey and I care a lot about fundamentally. I click that, and it gives me an insane amount of information about Apple's enterprise value over EBITDA. I mean, almost overkill. Shows me the trend of what it's been over the years. But this is my favorite part of it, is it shows me the average EBIT over EBITDA of the information technology sector.
The sector.
And
very cool.
And so now I can say, how does Apple compare in EV over to EBITDA to everything in this sector? And then it also picks out some of the big players that are below it and some of the big players that are above it, so I can see how my choice of Apple stacks up in terms of EV over EBITDA against all this other stuff. Now, some people are saying, Andy, that's not worth paying for. For me, that convenient, I could probably find that somewhere if I look really hard for it, right? I could probably find it, but I really like this tool in terms of my ability on one side to have the stock and the other side to have a metric like PEG. And I could say, well, what's the PEG ratio? Click, same thing. Information technology PEG, comparison to all the other stuff. So, I asked myself, can I make more than $30 a month? I mean, I used to spend more than that in commissions like in a day.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the overhead, now that commissions are zero, I mean, I feel really good about dropping $30 or $40 a month on this type of data. You don't have to, but Finbox is pretty cool. It's one of my favorite. For me, I pay for it. It tells me what it is, and any metric you can imagine on this thing is there. If you want to get there, go to Data Explorer and look at all these different metrics that's available to me, Corey. And that's just popular.
Yeah, huge
valuation.
Huge wealth of information on the fundamental analysis side. When you dig into fundamentals and really want to dig in there and do some scanning and do some comparisons, Finbox is great.
All this valuation, risk assessment stuff, efficiency stuff, their financials. I can compare one company's financials to another. So the reason I really like this is for I get a company, I choose a metric, and I get to compare apples to apples. Well, if you're going to buy a car, wouldn't you want to compare the Toyota to the Nissan to the Chevy to the Ford to the Cadillac? And so that really helps me do this. So basically,
sometimes the fundamentals are really helpful for finding a really bad stock, and we can make money from from bad stocks as well. So GameStop being an example, I mean, we've probably shorted GameStop more
Yeah.
than any other stock over the past while, and GameStop being a perfect example of something that's just been in a secular decline, just been huge catastrophe in terms of kind of its fundamentals and whatnot, and just kind of collapsing business. So where you look at the transition of a consumer and you see that those numbers starting to deteriorate within
Yep.
that business.
For sure. Definitely a trend there where they've struggled over time. And Sage Stores I've never heard of. When I look at that right there, I think that's an interesting enterprise value over EBITDA for sure, right? So this is ways to get ideas for trading and just setting up my tools in how I like them. And boy, you'd think, well, Andy's probably got spreadsheets and spreadsheets of stuff. Not really. I got a couple of calendars to tell me when earnings are, right? I got a couple of calendars to tell me when big events like the Fed are. I got a place to get me some quick quotes if I don't want to open my software. I got my financial news sites, which I don't pay as much attention to. I look at the journal basically, and if there's something big on CNBC, well then I'll go check it out. And I'm like, Matt, I have 2 free and 2 paid, so that's it. That's Andy's toolbox, man. That's yours is probably just as basic, Corey, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of surprising how you tend to kind of go through a
Simplify.
lot of information early on, figuring out what you like, and then once you find your niche, you really just scale it down to that and keep it rather simple. Have a handful of things that you really like to use, and the way that you like to approach the markets, and you don't need to dive into all the other stuff that's out there.
It might seem like a big deal. We've done a lot. We spent a lot of time here, but I'll tell you this. If you want to start a McDonald's franchise and you go to Hamburger U, do you think that thing's going to be simple? If you decide to go start any business and you're going to start out with your entity, all your agreements, the contracts with your vendors. I mean, whatever you do, if you want to go into real estate, there's a lot to think about and a lot to do. The 6 critical documents that you always do before you do a property. Whether you're in business, real estate, or stock, I'll say that one of the things I love about paper is you get your tools set up in a day. You could choose a brokerage, fund it, download their software, and have access to your list of stocks, your charts. You even have scans within here that I can find different things in. The whole shebang is right there.
In less than 24 hours, you can do all of that.
For sure.
It's truly amazing. Truly amazing.
It truly is amazing when you think about it. So even if you don't feel like you can use all these tools, don't worry about it. I mean, my son looks at a chop saw or a compound miter saw. He's scared he's going to lose his fingers, and he probably should be on that. No one's going to lose their fingers here. And if you're in simulation mode, you're free to play in the toolbox here. If it's in simulation, well, what does this do? What does this do? What does this do? What does this do? And I bet if you have a word processor like Microsoft Word, man, I'll bet that's got 1,000 features in it that I don't even know about, but I can still write a letter. I'll bet even in Thinkorswim, there's a million things. Like, I don't know what the hell a strategy roller is. Great. Someone can figure that out if they want. I don't care what it is. Strategy roller. Great. Some are from back-tested, crazy algorithm stuff. I don't mess with it, okay? I keep it really simple. I keep it really basic. But I do love this platform. The thing I love most about this one really is the risk profile, where I can go into my positions and I can see what risk I have graphically in a profile. And I can really, this is my favorite feature and really why I use this platform. I think they have some of the best risk graphs in the industry. They're clear, they're easy to see, they're easy to change and fool around with down here. So,
and that's a big part of what you get into when you get into the more advanced option strategies. You're going to get into, our option classes, and it's going to be where you're going to learn about iron condors, and you're going to learn about butterflies and all of these different strategies and ultimate options. And the ultimate options will show you risk graphs for every single strategy out there. A risk graph for a call diagonal and a risk graph for long puts, and any strategy out there. It's all taught. It's all covered in our ultimate options course. So, when you get when you're brand new to it, you kind of look at these risk graphs and you think, well, that's very complex. It's actually just breaking down, hey, how much money can I make versus how much money can I lose in this strategy? Obviously, that's an important piece of information. And then we can customize it to whatever's comfortable for us. If we're only willing to risk $100 in the trade, we can put on a trade that it mirrors exactly that. And this risk graph will help us. It'll say, okay, if you put it on here, you're going to risk 200. And we say, okay, well, we want to only risk 100. We tweak it a little bit. We get the right number, and it's really going to help you with that process. So it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun to learn about these strategies and then to come in and to be able to build them on your own. It's really cool stuff.
This is a pretty good freaking risk graph right here. I was just noticing that's your risk right in there. You know, that's it. This is awesome, and this is killer and stuff like that. So anyway, that's the trading tools. That's the boot camp, man. Wham! Whoop, wrong one. Wham! Right there. Basically, that sets up your stuff, and you're ready to go, ready to trade, fund in your account, and just keep it on paper for the foreseeable future. So hopefully that was helpful. Hey, guys, I know it's a lot. But you know, there was a day when email was a lot, right? There was a day when learning to parallel park was a lot. There was a day when get behind the wheel of a car was a lot. And you'll just find as you watch Mentor Club and as you go through your training and you go through your coaching with Corey's team, you get more and more familiar, like moving into a new town, and you'll just learn, oh, there's where they get my charts. And as Corey said, you know, I'll learn how to add things to my charts. You know, if I want to add that MACD that Corey talked about, well, I've got a MACD I can add, right? If I want to add a average true range, then I know where to, and you'll just begin to learn, you know, where that stuff goes and, you know, what it looks like and all that other stuff. So with that, I think we're good. What do you think, Corey?
So much fun. Yeah. Very good, and good, you know, kind of investor boot camp. This gets you ready. This gets you into paper mode, and this gets you practicing. That's where we wanted you to be. So great job, everyone.